The Shipman's Tale. There was a merchant in St. Denis once, who being rich was held to be no dunce. He had a wife unusually fair, one of a gay companionable air, a thing which causes more pecunial dearth than all the foppish compliments are worth, that menfolk offer them at feasts and dances, such nods and becks and party countenances, pass as a shadow passes on a wall. But woe to him that has to pay for all, the silly husband always has to pay. He has to clothe us, he has to array our bodies to enhance his reputation, while we dance round in all this decoration. And if he cannot pay, as it may chance, or won't submit to such extravagance, thinking his money thrown away and lost, then someone else will have to bear the cost, or lend us money, and that's dangerous. This noble merchant kept a splendid house, and all day long so many guests there were, for he was generous and his wife was fair, you would have been surprised. But to my tale. His guests from up and down the social scale included a young monk, well made and bold. I judge he was some 30 winters old, and he was always visiting the place. Now this young monk, with his delightful face, was on such friendly terms with this good man, ever since their acquaintance first began, that he was welcomed as familiarly as it is possible for a friend to be. And forasmuch as this good-natured man, he and the monk of whom my tale began, were born in the same village, the monk stated that they were cousins very near related. The claim was neither questioned nor withdrawn. Both were as glad of it as a bird of dawn. It pleased the merchant's heart, and his compliance had further this unbreakable alliance. And each was happy to assure the other he would always regard him as a brother. This monk, Sir John, was very free in spending, whenever he stayed there, carefully attending to what should please. He poured out tips like wages, forgetting not the meanest of the pages about the house, to each in his degree. Master or man, he gave a gift or fee, whenever he came, some honest kind of present. And so, to them, his coming was as pleasant as sunrise to a bird upon the nest. I must have said enough, so let it rest. The merchant, as it happened, one fine day began to make arrangements for a stay somewhere near Bruges, to further his affairs, and buy a fresh consignment of his wares. And so he sent message thereupon to Paris, and invited good Sir John down to St. Denis, so as to give pleasure to him and to his wife, and spend his leisure with them agreeably a day or two before he left, as he would have to do. For Bruges, this noble monk I am describing was glad enough, and needed little bribing. He saw his abbot and got permission, being a man of prudence and position, in fact superintendent, one to ride, inspecting abbey granges far and wide. Off to St. Denis then the monk has gone, who was so welcome as my Lord St. John, so full of courtesy, and cousin mine, he brought with him a jug of Malmsey wine, and also one of sweet Italian juice. With these a brace of birds, as was his use, and thus I leave them at their meal and drink, a merchant and monk, a day or two, I think. On the third morning, as the merchant gets in serious thought about his needs and debts, and up into his counting-house he goes, to reckon up, as you may well suppose, all the past year, and how things stood with him, what he had spent, how the accounts would trim, and whether his business had increased or not. Many a ledger and money-bag he got, and laid them out upon his counting-board. He had to deal with treasure in his hoard, and so he locked the door with an abrupt command that no one was to interrupt his casting of accounts. He worked away, setting up there till past the prime of day. Sir John had risen early, too, to go into the garden, walking to and fro. He said his office courteous and devout. This excellent wife then stealthily came out, where he was walking softly in the sun, and greeted him, as she had often done. A little girl was there for company beside her. Under her authority, still subject to the rod, her mistress said, "Ah, my dear cousin John, why not in bed? What's wrong with you that you are up so soon?" "Niece," he replied, "a man can keep in tune on 5 good hours of sleep, as I should judge, unless he is a poor old pallid drudge, like all those married men who cower there in bed, as in her form, a as all those married men who cower there in bed, as in her form a weary hare, when she has had the hounds upon her tail. But, my dear niece, why do you look so pale? I cannot but imagine our good man has been at work with you since the night began. You really ought to go and take a rest. And he laughed merrily at his little jest. And for his private thoughts his face turned red. This pretty wife began to shake her head, and answered thus, "Ah, God knows all," she said. "No, cousin mine, things aren't like that with me. For by the Lord that gave me soul and life, in all the realm of France there is no wife that has less pleasure in that sorry play. For I may sing alas, and woe the day that I was ever born. I daren't," said she, "tell anyone how matters go with me. If only I could get away or end it all. Oh, I could kill myself, dear friend. I am so terrified, so full of care." On hearing this, the monk began to stare, and said, "Alas, dear cousin, God forbid that fear or grief, whatever else they did, should make you kill yourself. Unfold your grief. It may be I can give you some relief, advice or help perhaps, and therefore come. Tell me about your trouble. I'll keep mum. Look on this prayer book. I will take a vow, never by chance or choice, no matter how, to give away what you may say to me." "I say the name again to you," she said. "By God and all his prayer book I can swear, though I were torn to pieces to play fair, and never breathe a syllable or tell a living soul, not though I went to hell, not on account of cousinship, but just out of affection for you, love and trust of having sworn." They kissed to seal the oath, and then conversed as impulse prompted both. "Cousin," she said, "if I had time and space, and I have none, especially in this place, I could unfold the legend of my life, and what I've had to suffer as a wife. As for my husband, though he's your relation—" "No," said the monk, "by God and my salvation, cousin indeed, he's no more cousin to me than this leaf here hanging on the tree. I call him so, but by the saints of France I do so only for a better chance of seeing you, because I love you dearly, above all other women most sincerely. I swear it on my profession, love. Tell me your troubles while he's still above. Quick, don't hang back, and then you can be gone." "Oh, my dear love," she answered, "sweet St. John, I hate to tell you, oh, if I were stronger, but it must out, I cannot bear it longer. My husband is the very meanest man, to me at any rate, since the world began. It's unbecoming, since I am his wife, to tell a soul about our private life, whether in bed or any other place, and God forbid I sank to such disgrace. I know a wife should only speak in honor about her husband, or else fie upon her. Only to you, the only one on earth, this much I'll say, God help me, he's not worth a fly upon the wall, in no respect, but his worst fault is niggardly in neglect. For you must know that women naturally need to have 60 things, the same as me. They want to have their husbands to be candid, sturdy and prudent, rich and open-handed, obedient to their wives and fresh in bed. But by the Lord that died for us and bled, by Sunday next, if I am to look smart and do my husband honor, I must part with, well, 100 francs, or I'm undone. For far better not to be born than to be one that people slander and say cheap things about. Yet if my husband were to find out, I were as good as lost. Oh, don't deny. Lend me this little sum, or I shall die. Sir John, I say, lend me these 100 francs. Trust me, I will not fail you in my thanks. If only you'll oblige me as I say, I'll pay you back, and you shall name the day. And if there's anything else, some little task that I can do for you, well, only ask. And if I don't, God send us foul mischance to me as fell on Ganelon of France." The monk gave answer in his well-bred way, "My dear lady, I can truly say I weep in sympathy for what I've heard, and here I promise you, and plight my word, that when your husband has gone off to Flanders, I will deliver you from fears of slanders, for I will bring you down 100 francs." And on the word he caught her by the flanks, and clasped her closely, giving her a riot of kisses, saying softly, "Keep things quiet. And now let's have some dinner if we may. My dial says it's past the prime of day. You'd best be off, and be as true to me as I to you." "God forbid else," said she. And off she went, as jolly as a lark, and told the cooks to hurry off the mark, so they could all dine without delay. Up to her husband she made her way, and boldly knocked upon the counter door. "Qui là?" he said. "It's me, dear. How much more have you to do up there?" she said. "And fasting? How long will you be reckoning up and casting all those accounts of yours and books and things? The devil run off all such reckonings. Heavens, you've had enough of it, my own. Come down and leave those money-bags alone. Aren't you ashamed to leave that poor Sir John fasting all day while you go on and on? What? Let's hear mass, and then go and dine." "Dear wife," he said, "how little you divine the complicated nature of affairs. God save us all of such as deal in wares. There's hardly 2 of us, as I'm alive, not 2 in 12, I say, can hope to thrive till they retire, showing a steady clearance. All very well to make a good appearance, to drive about the world and make a mark, but our affairs must always be kept dark, till we are dead, unless we are to play at pilgrimage, and keep out of the way of creditors. It's vital to consider this curious world and find the highest bidder. There's always chance to fear, and many a slip makes for anxiety in salesmanship. I have to go to Bruges at break of day. I shall come home as quickly as I may. Therefore, dear wife, I beg you to be courteous and meek to all in place of me. Look after all our property with care. See to the house, there's plenty and to spare. Govern it well. I'll see you have enough, but still be thrifty over household stuff. You've all the clothes you need, and all the stories. I'll put some silver in that purse of yours." And with that word he shut the counter door and came downstairs. He lingered there no more. Quickly they all went off to mass and prayed, and quickly too the tables then were laid. The merchant and his wife attacked the spread. Sir John the monk was sumptuously fed. Soon after dinner soberly Sir John took him aside, this merchant, and went on to say as follows: "Cousin, as I see you are off to Bruges for some commodity, may God and St. Augustine be your guide. Now do be careful, cousin, how you ride, and moderate your diet in this heat. You should be temperate in what you eat. Well, don't let's stand on ceremony. Goodbye, dear cousin. God protect you from on high, and if there's anything by night or day that I can do to help you, only say, command me whatever be the task. It shall be done exactly as you ask. One thing, may I ask as a friend, before you go. Could you contrive to lend 100 francs, just for a week or 2? I have to buy some cattle to renew a farm of ours with animals and stores. So help me God, I wish the place were yours. You may be sure I will not fail by day. Not if it were 1,000 francs, I say, but please, tell no one of this little debt. You see, I haven't bought the cattle yet. And now goodbye to you, my own dear cousin, and for your kindness to me, thanks a dozen." This noble-hearted merchant thereupon replied, "Good heavens, cousin, dear St. John, this is indeed a very small request. My gold is yours, whenever you think best. And not my gold alone, but all my stuff. Take what you please. Be sure you take enough. Of course, I hardly need remind you now, we merchants use our money like a plough. We can get credit where well our name will run. But to be short of money is no fun, so pay me back when you've cash about. Meanwhile, I'm very glad to help you out."